Hi, everyone. It's your friend Doris the Coder with another video. Pardon the echo if you are getting one, but Kelly and I are not techie people. So we realized when we reviewed the video, you could not see the screen that we were attempting to share there. So going live, I don't know how to share it even now, but there were a couple of tips we missed in the video that I wanted to include here for you. First, the session one of the sessions I did at AIABPM 25 was hot topics in anesthesia. That covered, most importantly, endoscopy, anesthesia for certain kinds of procedures. Interventional pain procedures and endoscopy was primarily the focus, but I did also cover some things on dental. I won't get into the whole presentation, but the take-home point I want you to have with the first two I mentioned, that is interventional pain and endoscopy, is there appears to be a real disconnect between what the providers document and what we are reporting. Moreover, that the providers don't understand that there is a requirement for them to, and you'll see this specifically in some Medicare policies, for example, for them to document the reason or indication for why anesthesia is needed. That has to be documented in the record. And I can tell you as an auditor, I don't see it all the time. I don't know why that patient, I know why they needed an endoscopy because it's just that time of year, but I have no idea why an anesthesiologist services were provided. So we talked about trends and common threads there, conditions and criteria that I've identified through our work with the ASA in doing payer policy monitoring to see like, hey, there's some trends here. There's some patterns I'm seeing throughout these different payer policies. I also find that, especially related to interventional pain procedures, they're not the easiest policies to find. I found the statement, it was Humana, I believe. In Humana's policy, I found the statement about the need for anesthesia, or more so that they would not consider it medically necessary, in the interventional pain policy itself. So when I searched that site by anesthesia, nothing came up. So sometimes locating this data becomes really difficult, or it's not as easy or upfront as you desire it to be. So you've got to do a little digging to see if you can find it. So that was my session at AIABPM 2025. ASA Advanced, we're doing a top, am I doing that one? Somewhere I'm doing fight or flight. I believe it's ASA Advanced, January 2026, where we're doing fight or flight, when to fight back, when and how to fight back against payer policy, right? So, yep, it's in a policy. What does that mean? Does it mean we have to follow it? Maybe, maybe not, right? So that's going to be at ASA Advanced 2026. Another thing that I want to kind of make you aware of, I'm working on a project now that I need your help or support with. If you are a group, irrespective of where you are in the country, if you are a practice who is seeing denials for, and that glare behind me is bugging me, who's seeing, no, that's worse, who's seeing denials regarding pre-authorization. And there's different, I think it's OA 23. Don't hold me to it. And some payers have different kind of codes that they're using. So if you have a way to run utilization, CAS code, denial codes, things like that, to see what your claim adjustment status codes or denial codes are telling you, and you are seeing some for anesthesia services for medical necessity, for pre-authorization, that I'm very interested in seeing. So I have a template. If you contact me, email me or whatever, I'm happy to send you that template so you can use it. I am in the data aggregation phase right now of that. We'd like to see who's doing it, where are the states, who are the payers, what kind of services are occurring. We're hoping to get some movement in that regard regarding anesthesia services and denials for them, just knowing by the nature of the specialty, there's not kind of a face-to-face encounter that can occur before we do our work. In line with that, however, and that ties back to the anesthesia for other services, it's really important that you're aware of these policies, because I found more policies than I can count that specifically address those type of procedures I covered earlier in hot topics. So if that's part of it, I'm not saying I won't take the data. I'm saying there may be something else there that they kicked it for. I'm specifically looking for the ones that they have tagged for pre-authorization or pre-certification. That's most important to me. Also on payer trends for you to be aware of, just as an FYI here, we are seeing client refunds. So to Kelly's point about payments and tracking, it is really important from a compliance perspective and a revenue perspective. And I really think even a contract perspective that you look at your refunds, because you've got to know it's not about making the money, it's about keeping the money. And I find it very strange that many times there are payer policies that say one thing, and I often get the question that I probably like the least, and that's, well, are we getting paid? The refunds are telling you got paid. And they're also saying give it back. So right now we are seeing Cigna, Aetna, and Blue Cross and Blue Shield of California requesting refunds for modifier AD. Now it's funny because I've seen some payers that say they don't cover AD at all and they've paid it, or they say they cover AD, and this is what we're seeing with Cigna, they cover AD with a fixed number of units, like 3 base units. And that's what I see most commonly. Sometimes they'll add the extra one, but for the most part, it's 3 units and nothing more. They don't pay time, they don't pay modifying. If you're the provider who's doing medical supervision, which is what the AD modifier reports, they are not paying the full case. So if it's a 20 unit cardiac case, and you fail direction either because you've not done all the steps of medical direction or you've exceeded the number of concurrent cases to bill that as a medically directed case, that is billed as medical supervision. And this is often why, if you've ever heard me speak before, you've heard me say payment's not a metric for compliance, because these things have been paid and it looked good and we were happy because we got paid. And then the payer said, well, wait a second, we didn't pay the way we should have paid. Now, should that payer have had something turned on in their system to match what they publish in their policy? Absolutely. But even if they didn't, it was published in policy, they can come back and get it, as they are doing right now. So you are seeing some trends with the AD modifier, that is medical supervision, with Cigna and Aetna and Blue Cross and Blue Shield of California. Check to see if you are seeing it elsewhere. I don't know what has happened. If the process you have in place, or you don't have a process in place, is not communicating those refunds back to revenue cycle management, I would say even before you refund them, something's broken in your process, because those services are going to continue to be reported in the manner that they were reported, because no one said it's an issue. More than that, it may be something that is contestable. And if you aren't having the right people look at it and say, no, wait a second, this is how it should have been billed, maybe even a corrected claim is necessary. If that's the case, then you could be putting yourself at unnecessary reimbursement risks. So be aware, look at the AD modifier. If your system has the capability, run the report on that, look at your payments, look at your refunds, and at least look at your payer policies. I like the number 80, so I do 80% of your mix, because we know we're going to see more of that to see how you have been paid. And if you're getting paid, again, you know your contract rates, you know what's expected, and you're getting more than that, maybe that's a valid denial, or that's a valid refund request, and you need to be aware of it. But you can't be aware of it if you don't have the data. Another thing I covered, and it's also a payer trend that we see, is the OB denials. And the OB denials mainly relating to the service date, in those cases where a laboring mother with an attempt for a vaginal delivery is converted to an anesthesia case for a C-section delivery. This is where we get the add-on codes. These policies in my monitoring these have probably been the most variable. We don't have a lot of, sometimes they don't have any instructions on OB policies at all. The barrier that I have discovered that we have sometimes is our systems aren't able to do what we need to do to make it match with the payer policy. So some of them will tell you it should have the same date, not specifying whether it's the beginning or ending date on those cases, which commonly convert on different days or calendar dates. Others will say it has to be the delivery date, which in your concurrency reporting, based on whether your concurrency reporting is based off the time entered in your record, or if it's based off the time entered into the medical record, or entered into the claim for your encounter session, or entered into the medical record, where is your concurrency report pulling from? That may not be possible to change the date without throwing something off or breaking something on the other end. So I've seen the delivery date, I've seen the starting date, I've seen same date, I've seen no date or policy altogether. So what does that mean and what do you do? What I recommend you do is a claims test, right? So once you know how you build it, how you sent the claim out, well, you already have an answer on what they don't like. If that payer is silent, then you may need to change the date because others will tell you it has to have the same date. And even though you think, well, I can't put the same date because the patient started laboring at 5 o'clock in the afternoon on January 1st, and we didn't convert to C-section until 3 o'clock the afternoon on January 2nd. Those don't have the same calendar date. And if I put the same date, depending on how I enter in my system and whether or not it permits an override, it's going to change and move things and it may not be reflective. So if that is becoming a barrier for you, you want to reach out to your EMR vendor, whoever you're doing your billing system, to see what the capabilities are for you to make that work for that payer. If there are any workarounds, you can also work at the state level with your payer to help them understand that that's just not valid. The ASA does a lot of advocacy work, but what you have to keep in mind when it comes to the ASA is they are national. And if your issue is really just one state, the ASA may not be the ideal place for you to take that issue. You might want to take it up with your state society where you know they have stake with that particular payer because they're only doing it in that state, or that it's only that state's policy that does that. So yeah, I didn't want to make a really long video, but those were a couple things that I wanted to cover for sure, so you were aware of it. On our video, again, Kelly and I, we thought we were screen sharing, and when we reviewed the video, I'm like, oh. So I will drop the link here in the bottom on this video so you can see the full video, which is on Kelly's channel. It's Kelly's Anesthesia Tips. So if you're interested in that, go ahead and check that video out on her channel. She also put some links there for you. So if you're interested in any of the upcoming events, we've got upcoming events in order. The next one is November, which is virtual. So if you have a practice that doesn't let you go to live events, but you want the same kind of level or quality of education, that virtual event with Decision Health or HC Pro is going to be in November of this year, calendar year 2025. ASA Advance is also, that is a live event, not virtual. That's going to be in January of 2026. And Kelly, I think, added that on her page. And then the next one, which is the one that had the recap here, is AIABPM. That will be in April of 2026. ASA Advance is in January in Las Vegas. AIABPM is in April in Phoenix, Arizona. So warm weather, we should get warm weather on both of those. If you missed the conference this year, we were actually in our home state of Florida, in Orlando. So I think those organizers are moving to different parts of the country. So maybe it's too far for you to go from the East Coast to the West Coast or the West Coast to the East Coast. So they're moving in different parts for it to work. But ASA, between the ASA and AIABPM, I think as an industry, we're working really hard to keep the meetings alive and make sure you have the education that you need. And hey, feel free to drop in the comments what sessions you're interested in hearing about, what kind of topics or issues you have. If you are on Facebook, there is an anesthesia billing and coding forum. Shout out to Pam Stouffer. Pam actually puts on some coding roundtables where we can just like a think tank kind of get together, talk about the issues that we are having, see if we've got some solutions on the table. I personally believe we have all the answers. I don't have all the answers individually, we don't, but I think collectively we have all the answers, and with the right minds together, we can get the answers that we need. So feel free, if you're interested on that, to check the Billing and Coding Forum. She does those, I think, at least monthly. There is some guidance. We've heard about the new fascial plane blocks where some payers are perhaps not paying or acknowledging those codes. What I'll tell you from a denial perspective with that is, I mainly see with Medicaid products. Medicaid and workers' comp are the two that immediately come to mind. Medicaid does not timely update. I don't know why. They're CMS. They have the files like everyone else, but because I guess there are some state level restrictions, maybe funding, I don't know. They don't often timely update that information. So the codes may be effective January 1, but if you build a valid code on January 1 and forward, they may not have those codes updated in their system until February or March. And they may give you an instruction to build the old codes until the new codes are added, until they can get those added in the system. So you've got to find out how to navigate that. I know coming from an orthopedic and work comp background, they may not update them for 6 months if they update them at all. So even though you've got new codes, the good part is if you're forced to use an unlisted code for what has a current code, you have RVU, you have valuation, it's already gone through the RUC. So your pricing should be much more precise than what you would typically have to do if that code did not go through RUC evaluation. So I didn't want to make a really long video. We got interrupted with breakfast this morning, so we didn't get to finish. And then I'd forgotten a topic that I wanted to kind of cover. So I wanted to make sure I brought this information to you as Kelly makes her journey back home. Excuse me, her journey back home. But it's been a long time. I know, blessing in disguise. I've not been able to do any videos, but as always, I'm on Facebook. You can send any questions you have. I am also on LinkedIn. That's probably the best way to get me. I don't spend a lot of time on Facebook because I just don't have that time. But you can send a message, send questions. I know I speak for Kelly, and I can do that when I say we're always willing to help and support you where we can as an industry for this specialty that we love. So I'm your friend Doris, the coder. As I say, like it if you do. If you think the information is valuable and helpful, feel free to share it with whomever you feel it can support. And until the next video, which I won't say when because I just don't know, I'll see you then. If you are traveling and attending ASA Advanced, please introduce yourself, say hello. I'll be there in January. If you don't make that one, I will see you in April in Phoenix, Arizona with AIABPM or virtually this year in November. Until the next video, I'll see you then.